The saloon door slammed open like a gunshot in the dead of night, and Elias Thorne stumbled in, his boots caked with the red dust of Willow Creek's endless plains. He wasn't looking for trouble, not tonight, not ever, but trouble had a way of finding him, especially in a town where whispers about that new drifter already hung heavier than the smoke from the whiskey barrels. And there, in the flickering lamplight, Harlan Blackwood hurled a man across the room with the force of a Wyoming blizzard, his calloused hands clenched around the fool's collar, eyes blazing like the thunderheads rolling in from the Rockies. Elias froze by the bar, his heart pounding harder than the stampede of Mustangs he'd wrangled that morning. Harlan was a legend in these parts, the rancher who tamed the wildest lands west of Cheyenne, his broad shoulders and scarred knuckles a testament to battles fought with both fists and fate. But up close, in the chaos of splintered chairs and spilled rock gut, Elias saw something else. A flicker of pain in those storm-gray eyes, a desperation that mirrored his own buried secrets. The man Harlan had tossed begged for mercy, slurring accusations of thievery from the Blackwood spread, but Harlan's voice cut through the din like a whip. "Lies don't grow on my land, Caldwell. Get out before I plant you 6 feet under it." The crowd parted like the Red Sea, murmurs rippling through the tobacco haze. Willow Creek was a hardscrabble town, forged in the fires of gold rushes long faded and cattle drives that left more graves than fortunes. Folks here clung to their prejudices like burrs on a wool coat, against outsiders, against change, and God help you if you strayed from the straight and narrow path of marriage, kids, and Sunday sermons. Elias knew that trail too well. He'd fled Boston's polished drawing rooms 3 years back, after his father's icy disapproval turned to outright exile for loving a boy in the shadows of Harvard Yard. Now, at 28, he was just a quiet cowboy chasing fences and fleeting jobs, his heart a locked barn door no one dared rattle. He'd ridden into Willow Creek 2 weeks prior, answering an ad for a hand at the Double B Ranch, Harlan's outfit, the biggest spread this side of the Platte River. Elias kept his head down, mending barbed wire and branding calves without a word beyond yes, sir, and no, ma'am. But Harlan noticed him anyway, those piercing glances across the campfire like brands searing into Elias's skin. Was it suspicion, curiosity, or something Harlan himself couldn't name, buried under layers of leather and loneliness? Tonight's brawl pulled Elias deeper into the fray than he'd planned. Caldwell, the local feed store owner, scrambled to his feet, blood trickling from his split lip, and pointed a trembling finger at Harlan. "You're hiding something, Blackwood. Everyone knows your kind ain't right in the head. Running that ranch alone, no wife, no heirs. What kind of man turns his back on decent folk?" The words landed like punches, laced with the town's undercurrent of hate, the kind that festered in idle tongues and aimed at anyone who didn't fit the mold. Harlan's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching like a live wire. He was 42, weathered by sun and sorrow, his dark hair streaked with silver at the temples, face etched with lines from squinting into horizons that promised nothing. Widower in name only, his wife Clara had left him a decade ago for a banker in Laramie, taking their unborn dreams with her, but the town spun tales of darker sins, whispers of unnatural leanings that kept Harlan at arm's length from barstools and baptisms alike. He released Caldwell with a shove, the man crumpling against the wall, and turned to the room, his voice a low rumble. "Any man here got proof, step up. Otherwise, drink your poison and mind your manners." Silence fell, thick as the summer heat. Elias's throat went dry. He could feel the weight of eyes on him, the new kid, wondering if he'd back the rancher or bolt like the rest. Something reckless stirred in his chest, an echo of the boy who'd once kissed under gaslights, unafraid. He stepped forward, voice steady despite the tremor in his veins. "I saw it all from the trail, Mr. Blackwood. Caldwell's horse was lathered, heading east with your saddlebags. Thief's the word I'd use." Harlan's gaze locked on him, sharp as a spur rowel, searching for deceit. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that stare, gray meeting hazel, a spark jumping like dry lightning. Then Harlan nodded, once, and the tension cracked. "Appreciate it, Thorne. Drinks on me." He clapped Elias on the shoulder, the touch brief but electric, lingering in the air like gin smoke. As the saloon emptied into the starlit street, Elias lingered, nursing a warm beer. Harlan slid onto the stool beside him, the wood creaking under his weight. You didn't have to speak up. Could have cost you your job if the wrong ears heard. Elias shrugged, tracing the grain of the bar with a callous thumb. Truth's truth, sir. Ain't partial to liars. He hesitated, the words bubbling up unbidden. Or bullies. Harlan chuckled, a rough sound like gravel under hooves. Bullying's how this town stays in line. But you're different. Quiet type. What brings a city boy like you out here, chasing dust devils? The question hung, probing deeper than Elias liked. He thought of the letters burned in his father's study, the cold finality of disgrace. Seeking space, I guess. Room to breathe without folks judge in every shadow. Harlan's eyes darkened, shadows playing across his face. Space is a lie out here. Planes swallow you whole if you're not careful. Judgments? They're the real storms. He drained his glass, standing abruptly. Get some shut-eye, Thorn. Dawn comes early on the double B. Elias watched him go, the door swinging shut behind that broad back, leaving a void filled with questions. That night, in the bunkhouse, sleep evaded him. The ranch hands snored around him. Tales of Harlan's iron rule murmured in half-dreams. The rancher who'd lost a brother to a rustler's bullet, who'd stared down claim jumpers with a Winchester and a will of steel. But Elias saw cracks in the way Harlan paused at the corral fence, staring at the horizon as if waiting for ghosts. In the solitary rides he took at dusk, vanishing into the sagebrush like a man fleeing his own skin. Days blurred into a rhythm of sweat and sinew, roping strays under a merciless sun, mucking stalls by lantern light. Elias stole glances at Harlan during branding irons and beef roundups, noting the grace in his movements, the quiet authority that commanded without cruelty. It was admiration at first, pure and simple, but admiration had a way of twisting into longing, especially for a man like Elias, who'd learned to love in silence. One afternoon, as thunderheads gathered like uninvited guests, Harlan pulled him aside by the windmill. Thorn, ride with me to check the north fence. Storm's brewing, might need an extra hand. Elias nodded, swinging onto his gelding, the air thick with the scent of ozone and impending rain. They rode in companionable quiet, the kind that spoke volumes without words, hooves thudding against the parched earth. The fence was down in 3 places, barbed wire tangled like a hangman's noose. As they worked, side by side, Harlan's sleeve brushed Elias's arm, sending a jolt through him sharper than the thorns. You handle wire like you were born to it. Harlan grunted, wiping sweat from his brow. Not many greenhorns do. Learned from my uncle in Montana, Elias replied, avoiding those eyes. He said a good fence keeps the world out, or in, dependent on the day. Harlan paused, hammer mid-swing. And which is it for you, Thorn? Keeping the world out. Elias's pulse raced. The sky darkened, wind whipping dust into devils that danced around them. Maybe both. Depends on what's waiting beyond. A crack of lightning split the clouds, illuminating Harlan's face, raw, unguarded. Sometimes what's beyond finds you anyway. Rain began to fall, fat drops turning the ground to mud. They hurried to secure the last post, clothes plastered, breaths mingling in the downpour. When it was done, Harlan gripped Elias's shoulder, steadying him on the slick rise. Good work. Let's head back before this turns to a flood. But as they mounted up, a shout echoed from the ridge. Caldwell again, this time with 2 deputies, badges glinting like false promises. Blackwood, we got witnesses saying you roughed up an honest man, and now your boys admitting to covering for you? Harlan's hand went to his holster, instinct born of too many ambushes. Elias's stomach knotted. This wasn't just a grudge. It smelled of setup, the town's venom aimed at the rancher who defied their norms. It's a lie, Elias called, voice carrying over the rain. We were mending fence. Anyone with eyes can see. The deputies advanced, shotguns leveled, water streaming from their hats. Caldwell smirked, his bandaged face twisted. Eyes can lie, boy. Especially ones like yours, soft, city soft. What are you really doing out here, cozying up to him? The slur hit like a lash, implying what the town only whispered. Deviance, unnatural bonds. Harlan's face hardened to granite. Back off, Caldwell. This is my land. Thunder rolled like Judgment Day as the standoff stretched, rain sheeting down in relentless curtains that blurred the line between ally and enemy. Elias's mind raced, flashbacks to Boston Knights huddled in alleys, dodging stones from righteous crowds who'd learned of his secret. He wouldn't let that poison touch this place. Not Harlan, not the fragile trust budding between them. Check the fence posts, he urged the deputies, pointing to the fresh wire glinting wetly. You'll see the truth stamped in the mud. One deputy, a lanky kid named Riley with a mustache too thin for his scowl, hesitated, shotgun dipping. The other, grizzled old Tate, spat tobacco juice into the puddle at his feet. Truth? In Willow Creek, truth bends to the mayor's will. And Mayor Caldwell here's got a grudge deeper than the Sweetwater. Caldwell, the feed store man, was the mayor's cousin, Elias recalled from bunkhouse gossip, kin tied by blood and bitterness. Harlan's ranch had swallowed up water rights in a drought 5 years back, leaving smaller outfits parched. Revenge simmered slow here, but it always boiled over. Harlan stepped forward, rain carving rivers down his chiseled jaw. Grudge or not, you got no warrant. Ride out, or I'll wire the sheriff in Cheyenne myself. The threat hung heavy. The county seat loathed Willow Creek's petty feuds. Tate grumbled, but Riley's eyes flicked to the fence, noting the sodden earth churned by their labors. Looks legit, the kid muttered. Caldwell's face purpled. You blind boy? They're thick as thieves. Enough. Harlan's roar drowned the storm. Thorne's words gold. Yours? Less than the mud on my boots. The deputies wheeled their horses, Caldwell trailing curses like a kicked dog. As hooves faded into the gale, Harlan turned to Elias, water dripping from his hat brim. You got stones, kid. Didn't expect that. Elias shivered, not from cold. Couldn't stand by. Seen too many good men dragged down by small ones. Their eyes met again, longer this time. The rain of veil that softened edges, invited confessions. Harlan's hand lingered near Elias's rein, almost touching. Good men are rare. Like rain in July. He spurred his horse, breaking the spell, but the air crackled with unspoken currents. Back at the ranch, the storm raged through dinner, wind howling like banshees around the longhouse. The hands traded yarns of past floods, but Elias sat apart, replaying the ridge. Harlan's protectiveness, the way his body had shielded Elias from the deputy's glares. It wasn't just gratitude stirring in Elias's chest. It was a pull, magnetic and terrifying, toward a man who embodied everything he craved and feared. Harlan joined them late, toweling his hair, shirt unbuttoned to reveal a chest mapped with old scars, knife fights, bull goring, life's brutal tallies. He dropped into the chair opposite Elias, forking into venison stew. Eat up, Thorne. You'll need your strength tomorrow, driving cattle to the railhead. The hands groaned good-naturedly. The drive was a grueling 3-day haul to the stockyards, fraught with river crossings and rustler ambushes. Elias nodded, but his fork paused midair. You lead in it yourself, sir? Harlan's fork scraped the tin plate. Always do. Can't trust city buyers not to shortchange. His gaze lifted, holding Elias's. You ride in point with me? The question was casual, but the weight behind it pressed like a brand. The hands exchanged glances. Point rider was Harlan's shadow position, reserved for kin or the trusted few. Elias swallowed. Honored, sir. That night, sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with gray eyes and thunder. Elias woke to the scent of coffee and the lowing of the herd mustering in the pre-dawn gloom. The drive began at first light, a river of hides snaking across the prairie, dust plumes marking their path like war banners. Harlan rode ahead, his silhouette cutting the horizon, Elias flanking close, their horses' strides sinking unconsciously. Conversation flowed in fits, weather, horseflesh, the price of beef in Omaha. But beneath, tensions simmered, Caldwell's threat lingered, and whispers from town reached even the trail. At midday camp, by a brackish creek, one hand, a burly Swede named Olaf, sidled up to Elias while Harlan scouted ahead. Watch yourself, lad. Bossman's got a rep. Folks say he drove his wife off with his tempers. Or worse. Elias's gut twisted. Worse how? Olaf shrugged, rolling his smoke. You know, lone wolf, no pack. Town thinks he's queer-like. Best not get too chummy, or they'll lump you in. The word landed like a gut punch, laced with the casual cruelty of men who'd never questioned their own shadows. Elias forced a laugh. Jealousy's a ugly rider, Olaf. Harlan's fair, treats us square. But doubt-seated. Was Olaf's warning born of malice or misguided care? Elias mulled it as they pushed on, the herd bawling against the wind. By dusk, they'd crossed the first ford, water churning calf-deep, but Harlan's call pulled Elias from reverie. Thorn. Flank left, strays Bolton. Elias wheeled his mount, ropes singing through the air to lasso the wayward steer. Harlan was there in seconds, their horses shoulder to shoulder, bodies leaning in sync to haul the beast back. Adrenaline surged, mingling with proximity, the heat of Harlan's arm brushing his, the grit of determination in his gritted teeth. "Got him," Elias whooped, the triumph shared in a grin that lit Harlan's face like sunrise. Camp that night was a circle of firelight, beans and biscuits passed hand to hand. Harlan spun tales of his youth, breaking broncs in Montana, outrunning Comanche raiders in the territories, his voice weaving spells that hushed the coyotes. Elias listened, chin on knee, seeing the boy Harlan must have been. Fierce, untamed, loving fiercely in a world that punished it. When the fire died to embers, Harlan lingered, poking the coals. "You ever lose someone, Thorn? Make you question every trail after." Elias's breath caught. The stars wheeled overhead, indifferent witnesses. "Yeah, family. The kind that cuts deeper than blood." He thought of his father's letter. "Leave and never return, lest you taint us all." Harlan nodded, shadows carving his features. "Clara. She said I was too hard, too closed. Maybe she was right. But out here, closing up survival." The vulnerability cracked something in Elias. "Survival ain't living, sir. It's just waiting to die slower." Harlan's eyes searched his, a question forming, but a distant whinny shattered the moment. Rustlers, shadows on the ridge. They mounted in frenzy, guns barking into the night. Bullets whizzed like angry hornets, the herd stampeding in panic. Elias fired blind, heart hammering, until Harlan's shout pinned the leader, a masked rider tumbling from his saddle, Harlan's lasso yanking him earthward. The skirmish ended quick. 2 rustlers fled, one bound and cursing by the fire. Dawn broke bloody, the captive revealed as Jed, a hand from a rival spread, eyes darting like cornered rats. "Caldwell sent us," he spat under Harlan's glare. "Said your empire's crumbling. Time to carve it up." Harlan's fist clenched, knuckles whitening. "Traitor." He turned to the crew, voice steel. "We finished the drive. Thorn, you're with me, guard in the rear now. Can't trust shadows." As they rode out, Elias felt the shift, trust forged in fire, but laced with peril. The town's web tightened, prejudices weaponized into plots. And in the quiet between hoofbeats, Elias wondered, was his growing ache for Harlan a spark to warm them, or the fuse to their undoing? The second day blurred in vigilance, mirages shimmering on the heat-baked flats. Elias rode close, their talk turning personal. Harlan's lost brother, gunned down over water rights. Elias's fragmented past, cities that choked the soul. Laughter crept in, rare and real, easing the miles. But at the noon halt, a rider approached under white flag. The sheriff from Cheyenne, badge tarnished but authority intact. "Blackwood," the lawman drawled, dismounting wearily. "Town's filling complaints, assault, theft, conspiracy. Caldwell's swearing out warrants. You come in peaceable, or do I drag ya?" Harlan's face was thunder. "On what proof?" Jed hears singing Caldwell's tune. The sheriff eyed the bound man, then Elias with a squint. "Proof's in the puddin', Harlan. And your boy's vouchin'. Might hold, might not. Mayor's kin to half the jury." He paused, voice lowering. "Heard whispers 'bout you too. Best watch that. Folks get twitchy 'bout irregularities." The slur slithered out, veiled but venomous. Elias's blood boiled. He opened his mouth, but Harlan's hand on his arm stilled him. "We'll meet you in town, Sheriff. After the sale." The lawman tipped his hat and rode off, leaving dust and dread. The railhead loomed by eventide, a steel serpent coiled amid the grasslands, puffing smoke like a dragon roused from slumber. The herd funneled into chutes, lowing protests as buyers poked and prodded, haggling prices with the fervor of frontier merchants. Harlan stood firm, His negotiations a masterclass in grit, slashing rates on weak stock, holding line on the prime beefs. Elias watched from the sidelines, tallying head counts, but his mind churned. The sheriff's warning echoed Olaf's, painting Harlan as pariah, their bond is suspect. As the last car slammed shut, coins clinking heavy in Harlan's saddlebag, exhaustion settled like dew. Drinks at the depot saloon, Harlan announced to the crew. You earned it. Cheers rose, but Elias hung back, sensing the undercurrent. Eyes on them. Whispers from rail workers who'd heard Willow Creek's bile. The saloon was a raucous hive, piano tinkling off-key, air thick with cigar haze and unwashed ambition. Harlan claimed a corner booth, Elias sliding in opposite, their knees brushing under the scarred table, a contact that sent sparks up Elias's spine. To the double B, Harlan toasted, glasses clinking. And to hands like you, Thorne, kept us whole. Elias flushed, the whiskey warming more than his throat. Team effort, sir. You lead like no other. Their talk meandered, dreams of expanding the ranch, Elias's vague hopes of settling somewhere roots could take. But as the night deepened, a shadow fell. Riley, the young deputy from the storm, bellied up to the bar, his gaze lingering too long. Trouble, Elias murmured, nodding toward the lawman. Harlan's jaw set. Always. Riley's Caldwell's nephew, green, but loyal to kin. Sure enough, the deputy sauntered over, tin star winking. Evenin', Mr. Blackwood. Heard 'bout the rustlers. Sheriff wants words, private-like. Harlan drained his glass, standing. Thorne, hold the fort. But as Harlan followed Riley outside, Elias's instinct screamed. He slipped after, melting into the alley shadows where gas lamps flickered like dying fireflies. Voices low and urgent. It can't let him testify, Riley hissed. Uncle says the boy's soft, easy to break. Plant doubt, say there. You know, shacked up unnatural. Jury'll eat it. Harlan's growl was feral. You threatenin' me, boy? Or joinin' the pack? Riley backed up, hands raised. Just warnin'. Town's riled. Your ways ain't welcome. And that drifter? He's poison, stirrin' what shouldn't be stirred. Elias's world tilted. The accusation struck home, twisting his hidden truths into weapons. He stepped into the light, voice steady. Evenin', deputy. If you're done slandin', we've got a herd accounted for. Riley startled, paling. Harlan whirled, surprise flashing to steel resolve. Thorne, go inside. But Elias held ground. No, sir. This ends now. To Riley. Tell Caldwell his games are played. Or face the sheriff's truth, not whispers. The deputy slunk away, tail between legs, but the damage lingered. Back in the booth, Harlan's silence was a wall. You heard, he said finally, not a question. Elias nodded, throat tight. All of it. I'm sorry, didn't mean to drag you into my mess. Harlan's eyes bored in, stormy. Your mess? Kid, this town's been my mess since I buried my brother. Whispers follow me like flies on a carcass. But you speak truth when others duck. That's rarer than gold in these hills. The admission cracked the dam. Elias leaned forward, voice hushed. Then why hide? From them? From whatever this is. He gestured between them, heart exposed. Harlan's hand covered his on the table, rough palm callous as a map of labors shared. The touch was fire, but Harlan pulled back, glancing at the door. Because hiding's what keeps breath in my lungs. Lost too much to folly. He stood, tossing coins. Ride out at dawn. We'll face the storm together. The return trek was taut as a bowstring, the crew sensing the shift but attributing it to the raid's aftermath. Elias rode rear guard, mind a whirlwind. Harlan's touch replayed in fevered loops, a promise and peril intertwined. By the Double B's gates, Harlan pulled him aside in the cottonwood's shade. Town tomorrow. Hearing on the charges. You ready? Elias met his gaze, resolve hardening. For you? Always. Willow Creek's courthouse was a squat adobe relic, walls echoing with the ghosts of boomtown justice. The hearing convened under a low ceiling of judgment, Mayor Caldwell presiding with smug piety, his cousin's bruises faded to yellow but grudge evergreen. Witnesses paraded, Olaf, reluctant but prodded, mumbling about odd closeness on the drive. Jed the rustler, cutting a deal for leniency, fingering Harlan as tyrant. Elias took the stand sweating, the room's stairs like branding irons. "Mr. Thorne," Caldwell drawled, "you claim innocence for Mr. Blackwood. Yet sources say you're intimate. Care to explain your loyalty?" The bait hung, loaded. Elias's pulse thundered. He thought of Boston's exile, the love stolen by fear. Loyalties earned, Mayor. Harlan's fair, saved my hide on the trail, trusted me with point. As for intimate, he paused, voice rising. If Mayonine friends who stand tall, guilty. But slurs? That's your shadow, not his. Murmurs rippled. Harlan's eyes from the dock burned pride and pain. But Caldwell pressed. Friends, eh? Folks seen you two riding close, talking late. Unseemly for decent men. The trap snapped. Elias's temper flared, rare and raw. Unseemly's hide in theft behind badges, Mayor. Jed confessed, your kin's plot. And if decent means blind hate, count me indecent. Gavel banged. Chaos erupted. Shouts. Accusations flying like saloon fists. Harlan was remanded pending investigation, irons chafing his wrists as deputies hauled him. Elias lunged forward, but strong hands, Riley's, ironically, held him back. Easy, kid. You just lit the fuse. Outside, the town square boiled. Supporters of small spreads jeering Harlan's name, loyal ranch hands squaring off with cudgels. Elias waded through, fists clenched, until a rock clipped his temple, stars exploding. He staggered, vision clearing to see Harlan's face pressed to the wagon slats. Thorne, get clear, don't throw your life for mine. But Elias reached through, gripping Harlan's hand. Irons be damned. Not leaving you to this. We're in it now. The wagon lurched away, dust swallowing it, leaving Elias amid the fray, blood trickling warm. He rode back to the Double B alone, the hands milling in uneasy vigil. News spread like prairie fire. Harlan jailed, ranch vulnerable to claims. Olaf approached, hat in hands. Lad, I spoke out of turn. Feared for ya. Town's venom runs deep. Elias waved him off, anger cooling to resolve. Fix it then. Ride to Cheyenne, vouch for the boss. Truth's your rope now. Nights blurred in strategy. Elias coordinated defenses, fortifying pastures against opportunists. But solitude brought torment. Harlan's absence a hollow in his chest, the unspoken this, between them a ghost demanding reckoning. Letters smuggled via sympathetic clerk. Harlan's scrawl, terse but tender. Hold the line, Elias. You're the steady I never knew I needed. Elias's replies poured out, ink blurring with unshed tears, dreams of open plains, free of chains. He signed them, yours, heart leaping at the risk. A week in, twist struck like lightning. Riley appeared at the bunkhouse door, face ashen. Sheriff's comin', but not for Harlan. For you. Caldwell's diggin', found out 'bout your Boston past. Letters, scandals. Says you're corruptin' the town. Elias's blood iced. Exile revisited, amplified. How long? Dawn. Riley shifted, guilty. Help you skip? Uncle don't own me full. The offer tempted, flight's old siren song. But Elias thought of Harlan's eyes, the touch in the saloon. No. Face it head on. But, thanks, Riley. Maybe there's decent in you yet. Dawn broke crimson, sheriff's posse thundering up. Elias met them unarmed, chin high. Charges. The lawman dismounted, warrant flapping. Moral turpitude. Inciting unrest. Testify against Blackwood, and we look the other way. Elias laughed, bitter. Testify to what? A man's character? Harlan's innocent. Rust Lynn. Assault. All Caldwell's forge. He straightened. Arrest me if you must. But truth rides free. The sheriff's eyes narrowed, appraising. Then, a shout from the ridge. Riders, a dozen strong, Cheyenne badges glinting. Reinforcements, the lawman muttered. Jed cracked wider, full confession. Caldwell's done. Relief crashed, but Elias's chains clinked metaphorical. As Harlan was released hours later, striding from the jail like a storm unleashed, their reunion was wordless, embrace fierce, hidden in the livery's gloom, hearts hammering truth. Freedom tasted of iron and regret as Harlan rode back to the Double B, Elias at his side, the posse's dust a fading specter. The ranch hands hooped welcome, slapping backs and passing flasks, but Harlan's smile was tight, eyes shadowed by jail's chill. You held it together, he told Elias privately, by the forge's glow, hammer strikes punctuating their words. Owe you more than wages. Elias wiped soot from his hands, the heat mirroring his flush. Oh's a heavy word, Harlan. We're square, friends cover tracks. But the word friends chafed, too small for the ache, blooming unchecked. Harlan's gaze lingered, forge light dancing in his grace. Friends. Yeah. He clapped Elias's shoulder, grip firm, then turned to bark orders, reinforcing herds, auditing books against saboteurs. The ranch pulsed renewed, but undercurrents swirled. Olaf's redemption and Cheyenne testimony. Riley's quiet defection leaking Caldwell's ledgers of graft. Town simmered uneasy, mayor's ouster brewing in backroom deals. Yet prejudices festered, graffiti scarring the Blackwood sign, Sodom spread. Harlan erased it silently at dawn, Elias joining unasked, their shared labor a balm. They fear what they don't ken, Elias said, scrubbing paint. Us. Change. Harlan paused, brush dripping. Us. The word hung, loaded. Elias's heart stuttered. Folks like us. Outside the fence. He met Harlan's eyes, vulnerability raw. I ain't hiding no more. Not from you. Silence stretched, broken by a distant coyote's wail. Harlan's hand rose, thumb brushing Elias's jaw, tracing a cut from the square brawl. Brave fool. Or foolish brave. His voice roughened. I ain't blind, Elias. Seen the way you look. Same as I can't help looking back. But this town, it'd crucify us. The admission ignited, air thickening. Elias leaned in, forehead to Harlan's, breaths mingling. Then we burn brighter. Or run together. Lips hovered, promise electric, but Harlan pulled back, torment etching deeper lines. Can't. Not yet. Too much at stake. The retreat stung, but understanding tempered it. Harlan's world balanced on the ranch's edge, one scandal from collapse. Elias nodded, stepping away. Whenever you're ready. Weeks healed wounds. Cattle thrived on autumn grass. Cheyenne's probe toppling Caldwell, installing a fairer mayor. Elias and Harlan orbited closer, shared suppers in the big house, talks till stars wheeled, touches accidental but lingering. Laughter returned, Harlan's rare guffaws at Elias's dry wit, Elias's quiet awe at Harlan's tales of brotherly bonds lost. But shadows lengthened. A letter arrived, postmarked Boston, Elias's sister, Amelia, penitent after their father's stroke. Come home. He's broken, regrets all. Place for you still. The words tore, old loyalties clashing with new roots. Elias burned it in the hearth, but embers of doubt glowed. Harlan noticed the pall. Ghosts? He asked over coffee, steam curling like secrets. Elias sighed. Family. Thinking they changed. Harlan's cup paused. Families don't change. They just dress old hates in new clothes. Seen it chew men hollow. His own past surfaced. Brother's death not just rustlers, but father's blame. Your wild ways brought it. Harlan's voice cracked. Push me here, walls up higher than barbed wire. Elias reached across, hand on Harlan's. Walls keep cold out, but lock you in too. Their fingers laced, simple, profound. Harlan didn't pull away. That vulnerability birthed a ritual. Evening rides to the ridge overlooking the valley, where sunsets bled gold into purple. There, barriers crumbled. Harlan confessing Clara's departure not temper, but her discovery of his hidden letters to a bunkmate. Love unspoken but real. She called it sin. I called it survival. Elias shared his Harvard shadows, stolen kisses, father's rage, the flight west that saved his skin but starved his soul. Thought love was a luxury. Till you. Harlan's breath hitched. Elias. The name a caress. Under a canopy of stars one night, he closed the gap, lips meeting tentative, then fierce, a dam breaking after years of drought. The kiss was salt and sage, hands framing faces, world fading to heartbeats thunder. They parted gasping, foreheads pressed. This, Harlan whispered, is worth the storm. But storms brewed, earthly too. Winter clamped early, blizzards burying fences, starving strays. The ranch strained, hands deserting for steadier pay. Elias and Harlan worked double, exhaustion bonding them deeper. Nights in the big house, fireside embraces chaste but charged, whispers of futures unbound. Twist came veiled in kindness. Amelia arrived unannounced, train-weary in wool coat, eyes wide at the ranch's sprawl. Elias, home's not the same without you. She hugged fierce, but her gaze sharpened on Harlan, the shared glances, the ease between. Over stew, she probed gentle. This place suits you. And Mr. Blackwood, kind host, but undertones hinted judgment, Boston polish clashing with frontier grit. Harlan excused early, sensing intrusion. Alone, Amelia cornered Elias. He's attentive. Too much? Father raved of your phase, said ranch's breed vices. Elias's temper flared. Phase? It's life, Millie. Love, real as this dirt. He gestured wide. Harlan's more family than Pa ever was. Her face crumpled, tears welling. I came to heal, not judge. But Pa's dying, wants forgiveness. Come back, Elias. Make peace. The plea pierced, old wounds reopening. Elias wavered, torn between past's pull and present's anchor. That night, Harlan found him on the porch, snowflakes melting on lashes. She leavin' tomorrow? Elias nodded, voice thick. Begging me to go with. Says Pa's sorry. Harlan leaned on the rail, breath fogging. Sorry's cheap. Costs nothing to say, everything to mean. Silence fell, snow muffling world. Go if you must. But know this, you're home here. With me. The word sealed it. Elias wrote Amelia Dawn. Tell Pa peace is earned, not begged. My heart's planted west. She departed hurt, but hugging, a bridge mended fragile. Spring thawed secrets too. Riley, reformed, tipped a larger plot. Not just Caldwell, but a coalition of envious ranchers aiming to seize Double B via scandal. They're comin' for the immorality angle, spreadin' tales of you too. Harlan's rage was leashed fury. Let M. We've truth on our side. Elias disagreed. Truth's a slow bullet. We fight smart, gather proof, rally allies. They plotted late, maps unrolled, hands brushing strategies into intimacy. Climax brewed in gathering clouds. A town hall called by the new mayor, ostensibly for water rights, but whispers screamed ambush. Harlan and Elias attended, shoulders squared, facing a hall-packed hostel. Mayor Ellis, a portly ex-blacksmith, open neutral, but speakers rose venomous, a preacher thundering Sodom and fire, a widow claiming Harlan's curses blighted her crops. Then, the trap, a witness, a drifter planted, swearing to nights of indecency at the ranch. Gasps rippled, eyes turned accusatory. Harlan surged up, voice booming. Lies. This man's a ghost, paid by shadows. Chaos erupted, chairs scraping, shouts clashing. Elias stood, heart pounding. Enough. Judge us by deeds, not dreams. Harlan Blackwood's fed this town, employed its sons. If love's crime, lock us both. The hall hushed, his words a gauntlet. Harlan gripped his hand under the table, visible, defiant. The drifter faltered, sweat beading. Riley burst in then, clutching documents, ledgers of bribes, affidavits from Cheyenne. Plot exposed. These witnesses are frauds. Pandemonium, arrests, mayor's gavel futile. In the melee, a knife flashed. The widow's son, grief-twisted, lunging at Harlan. Elias shoved him aside, blade grazing his arm, blood blooming hot. Harlan roared, subduing the attacker as deputies swarmed. The hall cleared in stunned exodus, truths laid bare like exposed roots. Blood soaked Elias's sleeve as Harlan half-carried him from the hall. The night air a slap of clarity against fevered skin. Fool, why'd you jump in? Harlan growled, voice cracking under worry, binding the gash with his bandana in the livery's dim. Elias winced, but grinned through pain. Couldn't let him touch you. Not after tonight. The hall's echo lingered. His public stand, Harlan's handclasp, a declaration amid the fray. Willow Creek would talk for generations. Harlan's fingers trembled tying the knot, eyes fierce. You could have died. For what? A rancher too stubborn to run. But his touch lingered, thumb stroking Elias's wrist pulse, gratitude unspoken. Deputies hauled the attackers away, Riley's coup vindicating them. Mayor Ellis approached, hat in hand. Messy but just. Town owes you both, debts paid in full. He paused, awkward. And the rest. No one's business, long as it don't hurt none. The concession was seismic, prejudice bent, if not broken. Harlan nodded curt, but Elias saw the thaw. First crack in the town's ironclad norms. Back at the Double B, Doc Wheeler stitched under lantern light, clucking. Lucky, nicked the meat, missed the vein. Harlan paced like a caged Mustang, until Doc shoot him. Alone, Elias pulled him close. Sit. It's done. Harlan sank onto the bed edge, head in hands. Ain't done. Tonight. You outed us. My sake. Regret warred with relief in his tone. Elias cupped his chin, lifting. Our sake. Hid too long, choked on it. Tonight? We breathe. He kissed Harlan soft, sealing the vow, wounds throb, fading to background hum. Healing bridged days. Elias Abed. Harlan tending with gruff care. Broths, storybooks borrowed from the hand's hidden stash. Laughter healed faster than thread. Harlan's awkward readings of dime novels drew chuckles, his baritone stumbling over flowery prose. This hero's softer than you, Elias teased. Harlan smirked, setting the book aside. Heroes win the girl. We win each other. The words hung profound, futures sketched in firelight. Town transformed slow, apologies trickled, Olaf's family sending pies, Riley earning a Double B job. Whispers persisted, but lost venom, curiosity edging in. Amelia's letter arrived forgiving. Proud of your courage. Pa mumbled amends before the end. Live free, brother. Elias shared it with Harlan over porch coffee, Dawn painting the plains rose. Free. Sounds good. Harlan's arm draped his shoulders, casual now. With you? Better than good. But peace proved fragile. Summer scorched, drought cracking earth like old grudges. Wells ran dry, cattle thinning. Neighboring ranches eyed Double B's river access covetously. Whispers revived. Blackwood's curse, judgment for his sins. Harlan dismissed it, but strain etched him. Sleepless nights pouring ledgers, days drilling irrigation. Elias shouldered more, their partnership seamless, but tension coiled. A new hand, Tomas, brash and prying, sniffing scandals for gossip fodder. One eve, after a futile rain dance of thunder without drop, Tomas cornered Elias by the pump. Heard 'bout the haul. You and the boss, true? Ma says that's devil's work. Elias's hackles rose. Mind your chores, Tomas. Devils are in drought, not hearts. But the seed sprouted. Tomas vanished next morn, saddlebags light, a note pinned to the bunk. Can't work for abominations. Told the Laramie Gazette, truth loud. Panic spiked. The Gazette reached cities, could summon investors' flight, or worse, vigilantes. Harlan crumpled the note. Face ashen. Damn fool. We weather it. Elias paced. Weather? This could torch us. Loans called. Hands spooked. Fear clawed. Not loss of land, but of their fragile haven. They rode to Laramie preemptive. Harlan's contacts buying ink. A counterstory of heroism, droughts divine, not damned. Editor, a wry spinster named Voss, printed balanced. Scandal sells, but truth endures, she winked. Relief short-lived. Returning, they found sabotage, fences cut, herds scattered into badlands, calves lost to coyotes. Harlan's roar echoed canyons as they rounded strays, exhaustion fueling fury. Who's next? The whole town's hand. Elias reined close amid the chase. Not town. Jealousy, that coalition's remnants, stirring old hates. A calf bolted, and in pursuit, Tomas reappeared, not fleeing, but leading a posse of roughnecks, shotguns glinting. Blackwood, your kind ends here. Tomas bellowed, firing wide warning. Harlan drew, Elias beside, a two-man bulwark. Stand down. This land's mine, legal locked. The leader, a scarred brute named Voss, no kin to the editor, spat. Legal? Bible says otherwise. Sodom's burning. Gunfire cracked, horses rearing. Elias's mount shied, spilling him into dust. Harlan wheeled, covering, bullets pinging rocks. Elias, get up. Pain lanced his leg, stray graze, but adrenaline surged. He scrambled, firing back, winging Voss's mount. The posse faltered, scattering as sheriff stars crested the ridge. Riley again, posse proper. Drop M, the deputy yelled. Surrenders followed, Tomas cuffed whimpering. Voss glared from irons. You'll rue this, city's comin' for ya. Sheriff hauled them, but warning lingered. Laramie's wires buzzed, drawing eyes urban and unkind. Homecoming was hollow victory. Wound tended, Elias limped to Harlan's study, finding him staring at a faded photo. Brother, young and grinning, arms slung casual. Worth it, Harlan muttered. All this fight, for dirt and dreams. Elias knelt, hand on knee. For us, dirt's just ground, dreams? That's the gold. Harlan pulled him up, embraced desperate, kisses salt with sweat and fear. Don't leave me waitin' to lose you. Never. Alliance shifted, Riley's promotion to deputy full, town council inviting Harlan to waterboard, Olive Branch wrapped in pragmatism. Elias joined, voice steady on equitable shares, earning nods grudging. Yet personal tempests brewed. Harlan's 40th, no, wait, 43rd, birthday passed quiet, but Elias plotted surprise. A canyon picnic, baskets from Cook's sly winks. Under cottonwoods by secret spring, they feasted, venison, cornbread, Harlan's eyes widening boyish. How'd you? Secrets, Elias grinned, unveiling gift, a silver spur, engraved steady. Harlan's fingers traced it, throat working. Elias, ain't words for this. Then don't. Kiss deepened, hands roaming chaste but bold, boundaries blurring in dappled shade. Affection flowered, notes tucked in pockets, stolen touches at branding fires. The ranch hands, sensing, offered wide berths. Olaf muttering, boss deserves joy. But joy's shadow loomed. A letter from Cheyenne Land Office, contesting Double B's North Quarter, claimed by a Boston syndicate, Elias's old haunts. Father's associates, Elias realized, gut sinking. Pa's will, left loose ends. They're tying M to us. Harlan's face darkened. Boston coming to collect. The fight escalated. Lawyers dispatched, surveys contested. Elias rode east incognito, confronting the suit in smoke-filled offices. This ain't business, it's vengeance. Pa's ghost. The lead, a slick weasel named Hargrove, smirked. Ghosts pay bills, Mr. Thorne. Your indiscretions? Leverage. Elias's fist itched, but he leaned in. Publish if you dare. I'll testify. Truth of Pa's cruelty, your firm's dirt. Or settle fair. Bluff held, claim withdrawn, but toll exacted. Elias returned hollow-eyed, Harlan's arms his harbor. Climax crested in Harvest Moon. The syndicate's final ploy, arsonists torching hay barns. Flames lit night hellish, hands battling blaze till spent. Harlan and Elias, soot-streaked, collapsed by embers. Ends now, Harlan vowed. Dawn raid. They tracked the torchers to a lined shack, guns drawn. But confrontation twisted, Voss again, broken, confessing syndicate hire. They promised land for silence on your ways. Harlan holstered slow. Silence bought with fire? Take your pay from hell. Voss crumpled, surrendering, justice swift. Ashes settled like judgment's confetti, the double B scarred but standing, a phoenix etched in char. Harlan and Elias surveyed the damage at first light, hands linked defiantly against prying eyes. Rebuild stronger, Harlan said, voice gravel steady. Like us. Elias squeezed, resolve mirroring. Always. Reconstruction bonded deeper. Neighbors, shamed by sabotage's scope, loaned crews. Even Riley's kin, hammers swinging side by side. Town hall reconvened. Not ambush, but amends. Mayor Ellis toasting Harlan's resilience. Subtle nods to personal fortitudes. Prejudices cracked, stories shifting. From curse to courage, the ranchers' bond a quiet legend. Winter whispered peace. Snow blanketing sins, holidays hushed. Elias strung lights on the big house porch, Harlan watching amused. City frippery. Tradition, Elias countered, pulling him under mistletoe scavenged from foothills. Kiss warmed against chill, promises sealed in frost-kissed breath. But depths demanded plumbing. One blizzard night, fire roaring, Harlan unburdened fully. Brother's death not random, but tied to their father's bigotry. Accusing the boy of tainting kin, driving rifts fatal. Blame ate him. I swore no more hidant. Elias shared scars reciprocal. Harvard lover's suicide. Father's silence a second death. Learned love's risk, worth every scar. Tears traced Harlan's cheeks, rare vulnerability. You make it so? My quiet storm. Spring unfurled verdant, rains generous. The ranch burgeoned, new calves, expanded pastures. Elias proposed irrigation co-op, town voting aye, his voice carrying weight earned. Twists lingered subtle. Tomas returned, contrite, begging job. Harlan wavered. Elias advocated mercy. Redeem or repeat. Tomas toiled probation, proving slow. First harvest, he gifted a carved spur guard, apology etched. Amelia visited anew, partner in tow, a soft-spoken artist, her hand in his echoing Elias's truths. Love finds its plains, she smiled, toasting at Canyon Feast. Climax's echo faded to harmony, but one final surge, Cheyenne Gala, land barons convening. Harlan invited as peer, Elias as consort unspoken. In starched collars amid chandeliers, stares pricked, whispers of that Wyoming pair. Harlan tensed, but Elias's hand on his steadied. We belong. A baron approached, cigar aglow. Heard tales, fire, fights. True grit. Respect, not ridicule. Dances followed. Harlan's boots clumsy on polished floor, Elias guiding laughs. Return ride moonlit. Harlan reined close. Proud of us. Elias's heart swelled. More coming. Years wove onward. Double B empire grew, alliances bloomed. They adopted a stray orphan boy, Jamie, wide-eyed Comanche mix, rescued from rail urchins. Harlan taught roping, Elias reading. Family forged, not bloodbound. Prejudices? Lingered in fringes, but Willow Creek evolved. Pride flags subtle on porches, tales of the quiet cowboy and tough rancher, inspiring hushed courtships. One golden autumn, ridge overlook, Harlan knelt in sage. Elias Thorne, you've tamed wilder than any Brock. Marry me? Here, where it started. Ring was simple, silver band, engraved steady forever. Elias pulled him up, yes, a vow in tears. Always was. Ceremony small, hands, Riley officiating, Amelia witnessing under cottonwoods. Vows echoed. Through storms and silences, I choose you. Life's dramas persisted, droughts, losses, joys of Jamie's first ride. But core held, love deep as roots, overcoming tempests with tenderness. In twilight years, porch rockers creaking, Harlan's hand in Elias's, they'd watch sunsets, stories retold. Worth the fall, Harlan murmured once. Elias smiled, squeezing every hoofbeat. And in Willow Creek's dust-choked streets, their legend endured, not quiet, but thunderous in its quiet way. Proof that love, fierce and unyielding, tames even the toughest lands.